Season just about upon us. Kevyn Adams with us. And Kevin, real quick, we'll get it out of the way. Anything new with Jack?
It's ongoing, as I probably said to you a couple of days ago, where conversations are happening every day. There's no weekends or nights. It doesn't matter. Conversations go on all the time, every day. Actually, they have been going on all summer regularly. I think, like I said the other day, I think there's certain pressure points that spike in terms of attention, or maybe media gets a hold of and makes more of the story per se. But so nothing new other than continuing to work at it. We're gonna do what we think is best for the organization, and but that's something that we've said from day one.
Well, when you say media, you can't blame us because we barely have talked about it. So don't blame us. Just say media outside of this program. How about that?
Don't be so sensitive, Marty. I think, I do think that just there's a natural, whether it's the draft or trade deadlines or the start of the season, where things just, pick up. Yeah. And that's, I guess, what I mean. But it's even the dog days in August, even though it was a short off season and things maybe in the hockey world seemed quiet, there was a lot of conversations going on behind the scenes for quite a while now.
Okay, so you just finished your first training camp as a general manager, because last year was not really a regular training camp like we used to have. Your first experience in person, and experience of this, and what was it? Was it harder as a player, or is it harder as a GM?
Well, it's definitely harder as a GM because you have so many things going on at once. But it's definitely easier not having to do the VO2 and the Wingate. So I didn't jump into the fitness testing.
What's your body fat right now?
Yeah, probably higher than I need it to be or want it to be. The late night eating is probably not the best thing for me, but. No, I think, it's been a really good camp. And you said it right, Marty. Last year we didn't have an exhibition game, and there was basically, we brought barely the team and a few more to camp, and then it was season started. It was really strange. So it's been good to go through it. It's been good for me to evaluate some of our younger players in an NHL exhibition situation. You can see guys in Rochester, you see guys in practice, inter-squad games, but there's still a difference when you get in, that live game feel. So it's been a good evaluation for us as a staff, and I've really enjoyed it. It's also an opportunity to really day after day have the right conversations and make sure you're, doing the right things to set the culture and the right type of people in our locker room. And so I've enjoyed that as well.
I'll have you know, I was continuing in my unofficial scouting duties for you on Sunday in Rochester at their preseason game. Yeah. And it was really nice to see Malone, Quinn, and Murray, among others, doing exceedingly well. Now, maybe they benefited from having time with Don Granato, because you have said, and many have said, that Don seems like the right coach at this time for the Buffalo Sabres. Why do people say that? What do they really mean by right now for this group?
Well, I think Donnie has a really unique ability to understand in the short term what needs to happen with players and how do you push players and how do you get players better. And then also have a real maybe ability to have a long-term view, which is a challenge as a coach, because every day there's pressure and you need to, you win hockey games, and you can lose focus of the long term. But I think based on what Donnie's done in his career in the past, he understands both. And he understands for us ultimately to get to where we need to get to, we're going to need to have the steps these players take is critical, and the growth they take. So he's able to balance that. And I'd say the other reason is, Donnie has a really interesting perspective on the way the game's played now and how it's evolved. And I think his past of, international experience and college experience and all his way up through the minors, and then being an assistant coach under, a guy like Joel Quenneville, he's got some of the stuff he's learned that he's taken to our team from a systematic standpoint. And he doesn't hammer X's and O's to the guys where he fatigues them on it, but he integrates it into practices where there's drills we're doing that I'm watching and evaluating, and we're working on our systems when the players don't even know it. It's just a natural part of how he structures the practice. So it's for all those reasons. And he's a good communicator. The guys respect him. The guys like him. He's honest. The days are over, Marty. As a player of when it used to be that, coach didn't talk to the players, they did their thing over here. The GM doesn't come around. I can't stand any of that. It has to be all of us together working towards a common goal, pushing each other, having the right conversations with each other, honest conversations. And the coaches need to be in the locker room. They need to be sitting there with players and talking about video. They need to be going over things. What are the players feeling and why? I mean, that's just so important for how we're going to move forward. And I'm excited about the coaching staff overall and how they've handled the preseason.
Duffer's not going to like me because I'll mention I just finished watching that All or Nothing, that Leafs special on Prime TV. And I know he's like, bleh, and I get that. Duffer, I feel the same way too. But I like how they showed
you're
like
just cozying up to a former Maple Leaf again.
That's all right. I'm just using all I've got here. But I like how they showed that I don't want to call it a war room, but like the business, like around the table, everybody involved. And you got a lot of new people this year. So you got Jason Carmanos, you got Sam Ventura. How often are you guys all in the same room talking? And how is the chemistry and the communication and the workflow going between all of the new people?
Yeah, that's such an important part of what we're doing here. And you're right. You talk about culture and, the team in the locker room, but it's also the front office. And then how does that, integrated to work together? One of the things when I first got the job that I felt was extremely important was to not rush into anything and make a decision, reactionary or without really thinking it through. What do we need? What do I need personally? Where are the blind spots that I have in my role that I need help in? And that's why, all along we said we were going to add staff, but take our time and evaluate. So I'm really excited about the way our, management team, our front office has come together. I think Jason Carmanos, his resume speaks for itself, 3 Stanley Cups and over 20 years in the league, as an assistant general manager with, different organizations. He brings what exactly, I felt he would bring. One was experience, having been through a lot of things before, perspective, and 2, honesty. Like, I don't want to surround myself with people that tell me what I want to hear. I want to surround myself with people that tell me the truth, are comfortable sharing their viewpoints. And Jason's very strong like that. And I think that makes us better, makes me better. Mark Jakubowski is assistant general manager role, has a ton of experience, handling the CBA and salary cap, contract negotiations. I thought he did a great job this summer and, leading the way with some challenging ones as we navigated the off season. Sam Ventura, that I know our Sabre fans are probably getting up to speed on him, but, coming from Pittsburgh, had a relationship with Jason before. Extremely bright, more degrees than I probably even know how to count that high. And he's just a really quality person as well. But when he speaks, he's speaking off the data, and there's not an agenda from him. It's just, here's the information. And when I challenge him, well, this is why I believe it. So we have a good, working relationship. And how often we're together? Quite a bit. We're in the office together, we're working. And then there's times with Zoom with people are traveling. Jason was in Rochester yesterday, so you're jumping on Zoom calls with our scouts and talking pro scouting and who's on waivers. So it's a lot, but I'm excited about it. Hopefully I didn't give you too long of an answer, but I think it just sums up kind of what everybody's doing and why. And then I guess the last point I would make is there's a complete transparency and open door that I've asked the coaching staff to have with the front office. So Sam Ventura is down with the coaches discussing things that he's seeing and what do they need and how can he help them. There's really good communication back and forth. And that's not something that always happens or to be taken for granted. You have to work at that and be comfortable that we're all working towards, the right solution of how we improve.
Quick follow on Sam and analytics. Do you recall a time at the end of your playing career, in your coaching career, or as you've evolved into this particular role now, where the light went on for you with analytics, whether it was light in the sense of clarity or just piquing your interest in it? And what is it? I know Donnie doesn't like to chase the analytics. He says that, but is there one thing analytically that you do really like focusing on?
Well, yeah, that's an interesting question. I never thought of it that way. For me, I guess maybe it's because I didn't score enough, but one of the things that I always felt as a player was what's the process of your game? So I was probably thinking about that before analytics was a thing, where I felt like there were games where I felt after as a player, man, I was in on 4 or 5 scoring chances and I didn't score. Does that mean I played well or I didn't play well? And so I would start to try to take a deep dive in my own game of saying, well, what was I doing to put myself in the right position to create scoring chances? And, or flip side, like I didn't have any scoring chances and I know I was on the ice for 2 or 3 great A's against. What happened? What we now know is the process can be told to us of the why. Why are things happening and what players are even if they didn't score or they haven't scored, the process of their game is right, which means they're going to come out of it. Sometimes it's puck luck, sometimes it's just circumstance, but you can make that decision more informed. So I think for me, that's something I've looked at. And then I guess the one thing that I really do focus on is to me, puck possession and puck battles. So the game now is about, winning puck battles and how hard are you on your stick to get pucks back and, that type of thing. So the puck's in the corner, someone's going to get it, so who are the players that know how to win puck battles? And then what do we do with the puck once we get it? So that's what I tend to gravitate towards, but there's so much information, and what I try to ask Sam and the guys is give me what's most important, let's really hone in on that. And then, cause you can get lost in it. There's just so much data out there. So you really have to stay focused on it.
So when you talk about puck battles, one guy that I was really impressed with his competitiveness and his winning of puck battles was JJ Peterka in camp. Now heading to Rochester, are you intrigued to see what he'll do in the AHL and how quick, are you from the phone? I'm pretty sure I can read you and you were happy with JJ's camp. You like what you see. So are you close to picking up the phone and being like, okay, we need you to come back? How does that work?
Yeah, I think it's a really, really important part of our future is how we make sure we set players up for success. JJ Peterka to me has been tremendous in training camp for a number of reasons. You mentioned it, puck battles, really going in competitively, coming out with the puck, making plays, putting himself in positions to score goals. He obviously, scored goals in training camp in exhibition games, but how he was doing it to me was impressive. I think playing a couple of years with men puts him, previously as a 17, 18-year-old, puts him in a position where he wasn't overwhelmed from the physical side, but his speed looked explosive. His hands, he was making plays. So really, really excited about JJ. What we balance is, how do we set a player up for long-term success? And, one thing I've always felt is there's no downside to continue getting better, to playing top minutes in a position where you keep growing and learning. I really am excited about the coaching staff in Rochester and what they bring to the table. So for me, talking with the coaches and just kind of going through it, we just felt that let's just take our time here. And we have a pretty exciting group of players down there that to me are, as I've talked about all off season, the core of how we move forward. There's some players we really think are going to be part of this core, and he's certainly one of them. And then there's players that aren't even in Rochester yet that we see as part of the core moving forward too. But let's make sure we do the right things, put guys in a position to succeed. And then the timeline will kind of take care of itself, if that makes sense. We have to be patient. We can't cut corners and try to rush things just because we think it's maybe like, oh, we should do this today, so it's a balancing act.
Quick thought on Cousins and Dahlin and where they're at to guide the way this year. And I use that, kind of in quotations. Obviously, we recognize their age, but they're also being counted on to take the next step.
Yeah, I think they're both. One thing we have to keep in mind, and I've reminded our staff and I've reminded them, they're young players still. There's always expectations when you're playing in this league, regardless of what role you're in. But we also have to take a step back and talk to players about it's a process of being at the top of your game. So what do you need to do? So for Dylan Cousins, it's using your speed, competing, going to the hard areas, and I felt, even in training camp, my message to him has been, don't worry about the offense. The offense, he's a very talented player. He has a great shot, a great release. He has the ability to make plays, but don't focus on that. Let's focus on what you need to do to be impactful from shift to shift. And that's using your speed, your physicality, and then everything will open up from there. So, I just don't want Dylan to get overwhelmed or feeling that, I have to produce a certain, number of points or goals because I'm in a certain role. So, I've talked about, let's get away from that. Just be your best every day. That's it. Be your best every day, and that'll, take care of itself. And when it comes to Rasmus, I really liked how he's come back. I think he had a really good off season. Really, you could tell the work he put in. He looks stronger to me. And for me, sometimes with a player like this, it's just letting him do what he does and do it, over and over again. There's going to be times where, because of the patience and poise with the puck, he's going to put himself in tough spots sometimes, but you have to live with that, and he'll learn through those reps. But he's been a guy that we're just going to keep pushing, hey, just keep getting better. And he's also, to me, taken a little bit of a step from a leadership standpoint. He's not looking around the room or looking over his shoulder and waiting for others. He's stepped up and more comfortable in that, which, even though he's been in the league a few years, he's still a young player. So that's not an easy thing for a guy to transition as well.
So Kevin, you're a Buffalo guy, and I listen, when I go to the grocery store, I talk to fans. They ask me about the team. They give me their opinion. I respond. I engage. This morning, I go to the drive-thru to get my hot chocolate because I don't do coffee. The guy like, hey, I'm going to be at the game Thursday. What do you think about the team? So I can speak openly about, as an analyst and all of that. But what do you talk about with the fans? What's your message with them? And how does that interaction go when you're out in public?
Yeah, you know what? Marty, I just know one way to be, and that's myself. So, I don't change. I guess in this role, one thing maybe I didn't realize was that, every time you leave your house, you're going to be talking about who's at center on the third line, or, that's just, but I love it because our fans care so much, and there's passion. In the summer, I'm maybe hanging around the baseball field a little bit with my son, or, then people want to talk about it. And I will always do that. I take time and have those conversations. And, the simple message that I have the fans is we need to earn the respect. We need to, as an organization, do the right things, trust the process, and stick to the vision of what we're going to do here. But we have to earn it. We have to, we can't just show up here and expect, 18,000 people to walk in and love the team. We have to earn that. And I think that's something that I've talked to the players about. It's something I've talked to the fans about. We want to see a team that is embraced by our fan base, that has an identity that our fans are proud of. There's a connectivity back and forth between players, fans, players. And we're not there yet. So we're going to work to earn it. But I wouldn't want it any other way. I don't think that's something that should be handed to an organization. It has to be earned from the fans, and all we can do is be honest and put the work in to get there.
Quick one before we do dis or dats from Marty. How do you protect the young players if the wins aren't there?
Well, I think it's part of it is the locker room. So there is nothing, in my opinion, more powerful than player to player accountability and honesty. So we were really, really careful this summer on the type of people we brought into this locker room, because you're right, Duffer, if things go, where you're in a stretch where success isn't coming, you're struggling, it's easy, it can get toxic, and it's easy to let that build. So what we've done is make sure that these young players that are here are insulated by really quality people. And we feel strongly that we've done that. So and then it's not backing down from it. It's getting better. It's getting up the next day and saying, okay, if we didn't have success, well, why didn't we have success? And what are we going to do about it? This is a really tough league, and nobody's going to feel sorry for you. And you need to figure out a way to push through it. So that to me is just kind of the way as an organization we have to be honest with each other, but then not compromising from what we need to do to build this long-term. We want to have sustainability long-term to have success. So we can't cut corners, and we can't make, emotional reactionary decisions based on a win and loss on a Tuesday night. You have to be able to have that long-term view, but it's challenging. So it starts with people. It really does.
Marty.
Okay, well, it is our Duffer. Do you want to set me up, Duffer? I'm back door with my stick on the ice. You set me up for this tap in. Go ahead.
Marty, it's time for dis or dat.
I love it. It's a get to know Kevyn Adams and Brian Duff as well, because Duffer, I want you to be involved in this or that. Big win Sunday night, the Bills in Kansas City. Kevin, I'm sure you stayed up and watched it. But the big question at halftime, was peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. That's all they talked about because the Bills player had a few sandwiches. Personally, I am not a fan. I don't eat PB&J. I don't like it, but this or that, yes or no on the PB&J. Kevin, we'll start with you. Yes or no on the peanut butter and jelly?
Big yes. Absolutely.
Big yes.
Big yes. And by the way, pizza logs is my food of choice during the game. Love it.
Really? Wow.
I resisted the temptation on the pizza logs, although I had them at the ready, and a full yes to PB&J.
Oh, a full no for me, but that's okay. I'm more of a Nutella fluff type of guy, like a lot of sugar. Let's go. Let's make it happen. Okay, so if you're a yes on the PB&J, do you do strawberry jelly or something else? Like some people talk about raspberry, grape, whatnot. So Duffer, we'll start with you. Strawberry or something else?
Strawberry is the preferred choice, but just about anything you mentioned also goes well.
Kevin, this or that?
Exact same answer. Strawberry.
Exact same answer?
I can go any way, but strawberry would be my choice.
Okay, and maybe not related to a PB&J, but when it comes to peanut butter, smooth or crunchy, this or that? Kevin, you go first.
Smooth for me. And by the way, I like maybe some smooth peanut butter with cut up apples as well. I'm a big fan of that. So let's just keep the peanut butter coming. More peanut butter.
Time constraints here, Marty. Smooth for me.
Smooth for you as well. Okay, so let's move on from the PB&J and the food because I'm hungry right now. Let's get to know you a little bit. If you could come back as a player, Kevin, and I give you these 3 skills to come back with, this, that, or the other thing. Great speed, great hands, or a laser beam of a shot. Which one would you want to have in your arsenal? This, that, or the other thing?
Speed was what I would have because you can, if you have speed, you can play in this league, work on the other stuff. But if you don't have speed, it's tougher.
Duffer, if you just came as a player, which one would you want?
I'm going great hands.
Great hands? See, I would want the shot. Just like set me up for the hardest shot at the All-Star game, 115 miles an hour.
Marty, the clock's running.
Oh, come on. Okay, let's do this. How about Sabres trivia or Sabres knowledge? Who do you think was the better Sabres goal scorer? Rick Martin or Alexander McGillney? Duffer, you're the Sabres expert. Go first.
Based on the era and quality of competition at the time and his status among peers, Rick Martin over McGillney.
Okay, Kevin?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I go with McGillney because, I was in high school watching him and just loved the way he played. So I got to go with McGillney.
Okay, better defensive forward, Craig Ramsey or Michael Pekka? Kevin, you go first. This or that?
Definitely. No, I gotta say Michael Pekka. I mean, it's he isn't working now. I was going the other way, but I can't do that. No, definitely.
Duffer?
That's almost impossible, but I grew up with Rammer and Luce, so Craig.
Okay, and who of the 2 teams that made it to the finals were the better team? The 75 Sabres or the 99 Sabres? Duffer, will go with you first. This or that?
75 without question. The French Connection, man.
I know. Kevin?
I'm going 99 because I was playing in Toronto and they beat us in the conference finals and they were dominant. So I was only 1 year old for the 75 series. I don't remember it well.
I like it. Well, that's all I had for this or that. So Duffer, you close it out.
Kevin, thank you so much for the time. Hope it's a great year ahead.
Yeah, I look forward to joining you guys a lot this year. Thank you.